Hello everyone, and welcome to History of the Ancient World. Today, we're diving into one of the most revolutionary inventions in human history, writing. It's something we do every day, but have you ever stopped to think about how it all began? How did our ancestors go from simple grunts and gestures to complex alphabets and sprawling libraries? Let's find out. Our story starts around 3500 BC in ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what is now modern-day Iraq. The Sumerians, a highly advanced civilization for their time, were building cities, trading goods, and managing complex agricultural systems. But with all this growth came a big problem. How do you keep track of everything? How do you record who owns which sheep, how much grain is in the warehouse, or how much tax is owed? They needed a system, and that need gave birth to the world's first known form of writing, cuneiform. The word cuneiform comes from the Latin cuneus, meaning wedge, and that's exactly what it looked like. Wedge-shaped marks pressed into wet clay tablets. Early cuneiform wasn't about writing poetry or epic stories, it was all about business. The first writers were accountants. They used a pointed stylus made from a reed to create pictograms, which were simple drawings of the objects they were counting. A picture of a stalk of barley next to some marks would mean a certain amount of grain. A drawing of an ox head represented an ox. It was practical, it was functional, and it was a game changer for managing their growing society. Over time, these pictograms became more abstract and stylized. Instead of drawing a whole ox, a scribe might just use a few quick wedge-shaped strokes that represented the idea of an ox. This shift from representing objects to representing sounds was a massive leap forward. Now they could write down names, concepts, and even the sounds of their spoken language. This is how cuneiform evolved from a simple accounting tool into a sophisticated writing system, capable of recording laws like the famous Code of Hammurabi, and even literature like the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest surviving literary works. But the Sumerians weren't the only ones having this bright idea. Around the same time, thousands of miles away in the Nile Valley, the ancient Egyptians were developing their own beautiful and mysterious writing system. Hieroglyphs. The word hieroglyph means sacred carvings, and for a long time we thought they were just magical symbols or decorations. Unlike the purely practical origins of cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphs were deeply intertwined with religion, royalty, and the afterlife from the very beginning. They were carved on temple walls, painted inside tombs, and written on papyrus scrolls to honor the gods and pharaohs. Egyptian hieroglyphs were a fascinating mix. Some symbols were pictograms, representing an object, just like early cuneiform. For example, a drawing of a leg could simply mean leg, but other symbols were phonograms, representing sounds. The symbol for a mouth could represent the sound ah. And then there were determinatives, which were silent symbols placed at the end of a word, to give the reader a clue about its meaning. For example, a word followed by a symbol of a man sitting down would indicate that the word was related to a person or a profession. It was a complex but incredibly expressive system. For centuries, the meaning of hieroglyphs was lost. It wasn't until the discovery of the Rosetta Stone in 1799 that we finally cracked the code. This amazing stone slab had the same text written in 3 different scripts: hieroglyphs, a simpler Egyptian script called Demotic, and ancient Greek. Since scholars could read Greek, they were able to use it as a key to unlock the secrets of the ancient Egyptian language. It was a monumental breakthrough that opened up a direct window into the minds and culture of this incredible civilization. As we move through history, we see writing systems popping up independently in other parts of the world. In China, around 1200 BC, during the Shang dynasty, we find the earliest form of Chinese characters written on what are known as oracle bones. These were turtle shells and animal bones used for divination. A king or a diviner would carve a question onto the bone, like, will the harvest be good? Or will the army be victorious in battle? Then they would apply heat to the bone until it cracked. The patterns of the cracks were interpreted as answers from the gods or ancestors. What's incredible about the Chinese writing system is its continuity. While cuneiform and hieroglyphs are no longer in use, the characters written on those ancient oracle bones are the direct ancestors of the Chinese characters used today. Of course, they've evolved and been simplified over thousands of years, but the fundamental principle of a character representing a word or an idea, rather than just a sound, has remained. This makes Chinese one of the oldest continuously used writing systems in the world. Now let's circle back to the Mediterranean and the Middle East, because this is where our modern alphabet has its roots. All the systems we've talked about so far, cuneiform, hieroglyphs, Chinese characters, were incredibly complex. They had hundreds or even thousands of symbols to memorize. Becoming a scribe was a difficult and highly specialized profession that took years of training. But then, a group of people called the Phoenicians came along and changed everything. The Phoenicians were master sailors and traders from the coast of modern-day Lebanon. They traveled all over the Mediterranean, and they needed a simple, efficient way to keep business records and communicate with different cultures. Around 1000 BC, they developed a revolutionary new system. Instead of using symbols for whole words or syllables, their system had just 22 symbols, and each one represented a single consonant sound. This was the world's first true alphabet. It was easy to learn, easy to use, and incredibly adaptable. The genius of the Phoenician alphabet was its simplicity. A trader could learn it quickly and use it to write in their own language. And that's exactly what happened. As the Phoenicians traded, their alphabet spread. The ancient Greeks adopted it, but they made a crucial addition. They introduced symbols for vowel sounds. This made the script even more precise and versatile. The first letter of the Phoenician alphabet was Aleph, which became the Greek Alpha. The second letter, Beth, became Beta. Sound familiar? Alphabet. That's where the word comes from. The Greeks passed their alphabet on to the Etruscans in Italy, who in turn passed it on to the Romans. The Romans modified the letters, creating the Latin alphabet that we still use today in English and many other languages across the globe. So, every time you type an email, send a text, or read a book, you are using a system that has a direct lineage stretching back over 3,000 years to those clever Phoenician traders. The invention of writing was more than just a new technology. It fundamentally rewired the human brain and restructured society. For the first time, knowledge could be stored, accumulated, and passed down accurately from one generation to the next. It allowed for the creation of complex laws, detailed histories, epic literature, and profound philosophical ideas. It separated history from prehistory. Without writing, there would be no empires, no science, no religion as we know it. The entire structure of our modern world would be unimaginable. From clay tablets in Mesopotamia and sacred carvings in Egypt, to oracle bones in China and the alphabetic revolution of the Phoenicians, the journey of writing is a testament to human ingenuity and our deep-seated need to communicate, to remember, and to leave our mark on the world. It's a story that's still being written every single day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of writing. What ancient script do you find most fascinating? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to History of the Ancient World for more deep dives into our incredible past. We'll see you in the next one.